Our topic is getting to know and follow Jesus better. In the article A Friend in God, William A. Barry talks about how God sends us messages every day through things such as the sunrise. So we have a fire here, a fire pit, me and Simon. Our article talks about engaging a friendship with God, and we can relate this into getting to know and follow Jesus better through his friendship leading us into God's image and how he presents his way of life for us. So in the article, it talks about engaging in a friendship with God. You can take time to become more aware of what is happening in your everyday life. So me and Simon are at a little get together with some of our friends, and pan the camera over there. We're playing some cornhole, just enjoying each other's company. Again, we have the fire here, just kind of, celebrating everything God's given us. Also, in our article, it talks about what the kind of experience they're talking about, just getting to know Jesus better. Our author talks about after a day of work, he comes back home with his family and looks on the news, and just he talks about a picture of an automobile accident and wonders if it could be his friend, like just worrying for his friend. And getting to know God better, just getting to know your friends and family better, engaging in relationships with them every day, just checking up on them, seeing how they're doing, saying I love you if that's part of your deal, like your parents or maybe.
So Strider in The Lord of the Rings really represents Jesus, and he represents Jesus by coming in to the hobbits' life and guiding them. And at first, the hobbits are like scared of Strider. They don't know who he is, but they're vulnerable with him, and they build a better relationship in between time to build a better relationship with Jesus.
From our prayer experiences, this little passage is from the Call of Christ our King. Those who desire to show greater devotion and to distinguish themselves in total service to their eternal King and universal Lord will not only offer their persons for their labor, but go further still. They will work against their human sensitivities and against their carnal and worldly love, and they will make offerings of greater worth and moment, and say, Eternal Lord of all things, I make my offering with your favor and help. I make it in the presence of your infinite goodness and all of your glorious Mother and all of the holy men and women in your heavenly court. That was the call from the Call of Christ our King. This little passage is from Call of the King, part 1 and 2. Whoever wishes to join me in this undertaking must be content with the same food, drink, clothing, and so on as mine, so too he must work with me by day and watch with me by night, that as he has had a share in the toil with me, afterwards he may share in the victory with me. So, those two passages kind of just made me think of what role models have I had growing up in my life and how they've shaped me become like the young man I am today. So I just thought of some people like my mom, grandpa, and then like maybe even some celebrities. Like when I was younger, I looked up to Cam Newton and Andy Dalton. They're NFL quarterbacks. I'm obviously not going in NFL, but guys who have achieved such like success like that, they kind of just inspire you to do great things. Obviously my mom and grandpa, they just inspire me to be a good person, and they teach me right from wrong. Another person that I see kind of living these two prayers, but through a movie which we watched, was Lord of the Rings. I thought Gandalf was just kind of like, he was kind of like a leader. He kind of showed people what's right and wrong, and he ultimately gave his life for the group. And even when he died, he did like the crucifixion, like what Jesus did on the crucifix, like the cross. So.
Here's how the Fellowship of the Ring and Jesus relate to one another. Aragorn and Jesus are very similar figures. Think about it. They're both prophesied to assume a long-lost dynasty and rule over their people for a long time, with Aragorn as king of Gondor and Jesus as king of the Jews. Although Aragorn's throne is much fancier than Jesus' throne. And just like Jesus, Aragorn is a stand-up guy. He isn't tempted by the One Ring's power like basically all other men. Frodo also shares a lot with Jesus. Come on, they both have to climb up a big incline whilst carrying a great burden. This is pretty on the nose. They even both have authoritarians with swords harassing them the whole way. So that's how Fellowship of the Ring and Jesus Christ relate to one another.
In Joe's video, he describes the similarities between Jesus Christ and characters from Fellowship of the Ring. And he kind of describes how Aragorn and Frodo are messianic figures, and I think that's important because we can kind of relate them to Jesus, and then we can look at their battles and their struggles, and we can relate that to Jesus, and it can help us follow Jesus better. Said back in A Friend in God, that passage, we can become friends with Jesus better. So, yeah, thank you.